William Morrow and Harper Audio present Nothing General About It, How Love and Lithium Saved Me on and Off General Hospital, by Maurice Benard with Susan Black. This is Maurice Benard. Some 27 years ago, mobster Michael Sonny Corinthos Jr. appeared in the fictional city of Port Charles, New York, and took the town and General Hospital fans around the world by storm. Through the years, Sonny has survived his enemies, his wives, and himself, and fans know there have been a lot of enemies, a lot of wives, and many personal demons. We have that in common, me and Sonny, that battle against ourselves. Not so much the enemies and wives part. I'm grateful that I met the love of my life when I was 22 and eventually got to marry her in spite of the many obstacles we faced. But I'll get to that. That's a pretty wild story, too. It's funny because when General Hospital executives created the character for me in 1993, I believed life was going to be great. Hollywood, glamour, money, fame, sky's the limit. But rocketing to notoriety wasn't as glamorous as people might think. And neither was what would become a decades-long love-hate relationship with Sonny, a guy who nobody else has ever played. There wasn't even a honeymoon period on the show. Only 3 weeks in, and I was already in serious trouble. It wasn't the kind Corinthos gets into either. He's always caught up in mobster problems, legal issues, someone trying to take over his territory. Nobody was shooting at me or threatening my kids. I didn't even have kids yet. Nobody was trying to rip me off or put me in jail. It was true. But I did have a credible, insidious enemy that was very dark and very lethal. It just wasn't a rival mobster in Port Charles. My enemy was worse because there was no way I could escape. I physically could not get out of harm's way because my enemy was me. If your job requires that you learn 20 pages of dialogue a night and film every single day without multiple takes, you had better show up prepared because in daytime TV, you don't get to have bad days or sick days. Binge watching may seem like a new thing, but that audience has always been there for daytime TV, ravenously tuning in every single day, expecting to see what happens next. Sometimes, because the show literally must go on, you just have to fake it. I had learned how to do that, get through the anxiety until one day, when it fell apart. That morning, I got to the set, couldn't remember my lines at all. But what was even more disturbing was that I could barely move. I was too terrified to look in the mirror because I had no idea who or what I would see. It took everything inside me to open the door and walk out of my dressing room. I'll never forget how alone I felt, how the fear consumed me. Beyond that, I was also hallucinating, and I don't mean that I was seeing something warm and fuzzy. I was seeing the devil, and I was hearing voices, very scary voices telling me to do very bad things. I was convinced they were real, and nobody knew, not the producers, not the actors, or the crew. They had no clue who I was, how I was wired, or that the new guy was in a profound crisis. How could they? I'm an actor after all, right? I can pretend to be anyone, to feel anything. And I'd gotten good at fooling myself since the same darkness had started plaguing me as a kid. So now I was in deep shit. Because I was broke, I needed the money to support my wife, and I couldn't lose this job. My demons had something else in mind. They had their claws in me, and I couldn't fight it because I didn't have the tools to fight.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?